You're right there, guys, and welcome to Neverwinter. My name's Alistair. We're going to quickly go through a Hunter Ranger setup here. Now, I personally don't really play with the Hunter Ranger. I tend to stick to Warden pretty heavily, but we'll still look through the powers as they stand. Now, starting off with the feats, I've currently got long shot on. I personally just rather the flat damage gain to my range because I kind of take this to focus more single target. However, it's better in mixed target damage. But the other option is rate of change. And the thing about rate of change is I'm not great with super strict stance switching yet. I've not practiced it much. And so therefore I miss a beat fairly often. It becomes quite a complex rotation. And so I would personally rather just go for a long shot and gain the damage bonus. Here I've got Thorn Roots to increase the damage, giving me another 75 magnitude damage. And the immune target gains to 225 magnitude. And it's upgrading your root strength as well. Over here I've got Predator. It's better than Biting Snares, I think, because the action points are pretty null and void overall for the Ranger. We have so many sort of like low costing action point based daily powers, it just doesn't really matter. Predator using range power, encounter power applies prey to the first target hit, increasing the damage of your attacks to that target by 10%, last 10 seconds. This is brilliant for a single target because obviously you gain that 10%. Go for Forest Bond. When you apply a strong grasping root or thorn roots, you reduce the cooldown of all your currently recharging powers by 10%. This amount is reduced for 5% for weak grasping roots. But obviously, we're going to get a bit of a heavier root with thorned roots, and we're going to have that little upgrade. Commanding Shot, which this feat's linked to, doesn't get a cooldown reduction from any of the cooldown abilities on the Ranger, and it just doesn't. It's just a clunky power. Good for range, good for a bit of team support because it actually gives a little shield here, temporary hit points on the Stagheart side, but it just doesn't quite match up when it comes to the actual output of damage. And then Mortar than Disruptive to gain 10% extra damage. Now you can go Slasher's Mark. Slasher's Mark does hit really hard in melee, but Slasher's Mark, if you're using long shot, is being deducted by 50%, while your disruptive shot's being increased. So if you're running a stance switching build, your Slasher's Mark is actually brilliant, but I prefer disruptive shot because I actually combine Forest Ghost and disruptive shot to give me more damage in my encounter rotation anyway. Plus, I won't always have 100% 100% action points, sorry. In class features, I'm currently using Seeker's Vengeance for attacks from behind dealing 10% more damage, and then Aspects of Valken, obviously for being closer, I gain more damage. This could change because if I'm running a very range heavy build, even though it's a multi-target build because you've got good AoE on the opposite side on your melee, I personally might change that depending. Now you've got a lot of other options here. Obviously you've got your Primal Instinct, which obviously goes for your Stagheart. That's more of a supportive power. You've obviously got your Aspect of the Pack. Aspect of the Serpent, it will give you a bit of a damage bonus to your range powers. And you can read it yourself. Adding a stack buff on every at-will and encounter power used increases the damage of your at-will encounter powers by 3%. If the stacks are added from range stance, they will affect your melee stance attacks, vice versa. This is really for that stance switching build. I personally don't run the stance switching build, so that's no good for me. And obviously here, Crushing Roots, this is good. It obviously combines with your Thorn Roots and your Forest Bond, and it can be a really good option as well. Forest Ghost and Disruptive Shot are what I personally use for my daily powers. I will use Forest Ghost to gain the 1000 magnitude damage over time, and then I will use the Disruptive Shot to gain the 10% extra damage bonus plus a 400 magnitude hit. And you can pop a load of these off really quickly and just empty your bar really quickly. Up in the encounter powers, Long Strider Shot and Gushing Wounds. Gushing Wounds is really nice, just a little damage over time. Really good for a stance switching build. Constricting Arrow, Steel Breeze. Two decent AoE. Obviously, Constricting Arrow is good in single target as well. Nice high magnitude. Your Hindering Strike, nice and heavy hitting. Hindering Shot, mostly for the cooldown, is why we're using it. But it also applies Weak Grasping Roots, which will be upgraded and help deal more damage because of your class features down here. And lastly up here, you have your Aim Shot and Aim Strike. Aim Shot, massive damage, 260 magnitude. It's just a big hitter. And then you have your two things that you can apply here, your Careful Attack and your Hunter's Teamwork. Careful Attack, I personally think is much better because it gives you the 15% per hit. This is more of a utility buff in Hunter's Teamwork, but it will help out quite a bit. If you're in melee heavy dungeons, you can always go for some like Split Shot and Split Strike. Split Shot, really good. And you can, if you're quick and press a button fast enough, you can sometimes get Split Shot to overproc and cast off a number of extra times. However, I personally just go for Aim Shot for the single target because, as I said, I run this as a single target build. And your Hunter's Teamwork and Careful Attack. Careful Attack mostly for the extra little magnitude per hit. But it's up to you what you run in this. I'm not overly bothered. Like, it doesn't do that much difference. You're probably better running Split Shot for when you're in AoE, but this is just what I run currently. Right, we're gonna have a little look at the rotation for the single target. And it's nice and simple. It's literally just the 3 encounter powers. You can use the ones on the far side if you like, and then back to your at-wills, and then just pop, pop, pop. Oh, I missed one. My Y button's a bit sticky at the moment. It's a bit broken. So if you're stance switching, you would do Gushing Wounds, stance switch, you'd then do your Commanding Shot, stance switch, Steel Breeze, stance switch, boom, boom. And you see, I'm just bouncing between them all the time, which is fine. I'm not very good at it. I find it quite a tricky rotation to get the hang of. You can go the 3 encounter powers and then move on to the other side and do 3 encounter powers. That works a bit easier, and then just stand waiting for this to cool down with your at-wills. And obviously you can deduct a little bit. There you go. And you can do it that way instead. It's just, I find it a bit tricky. So I personally just stick with range. And now for your range rotation, it is literally just, you're applying your little you're applying your little buffs. You know what I mean? You're applying these little buffs on, and then you're just going and using your encounter powers, animation cancelling if you need to. Obviously that would work better if you had 2 tacticians, and just chipping away like that. Now the artifact call for a range only build is pretty simple. It is artifact, 1 encounter, 2 encounter, 3 encounter, and then just disruptive shots out the wazoo. Boom. Mount power, and then finishing up with your belt item, and then just a few little extra bits, just, with your melee if you've got them left over. So that again, I'll quickly just get my daily back. There we go. Is literally just 3 encounter powers. You'll use your Forest Ghost. You'll use your Disruptive Shot. I just pop a whole load of Disruptive Shots. I just drop them out. And then I'll go and use my Big B's Hand, my belt item. Big B's Hand give me that 4-second cooldown, bringing everything back into balance, and I can do another 3 encounter powers. Now, the Ranger Hunter does lack a bit in burst damage, even if you do the stance switching as well, which gives you more counter powers, but you gain, if you've got 2 tacticians, you actually gain more damage running just the range powers and stuff in burst. And burst damage in artifact calls is where you're going to make most of your damage up. So let's go again. Artifact, and 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, like a load of those, one of these, and then back into here like this. And now I can finish off with a few of these to end it. So that is the rotation for single target. Now AoE is pretty simple. You're using your your constricting arrow, which is your Y in this case. That does a little AoE attack, and then you run in, and then you're using your 2 encounter powers that do AoE, and then you can use your AoE at wills if that's what you're using, such as split shot. Let me just change this over for you. So you're using your Y, your B, constricting arrow, and once this is off cooldown, I will show you what the at will looks like. Yeah, there we go. And you can charge it if you want and do it like that, or you can go into melee and it looks like this. It just doesn't put out as much melee as the Warden does. It doesn't do as much AoE or single target, but it does a mix of both. So if you are stance switching, you can do a good bit of each. Anyway, that's the Hunter Ranger. As I say, it's not my main build. I don't really run it, and so therefore I don't have much to put into it. But I would personally just go for a focus build and really utilize your mount bonuses, heavily crutching them. Anyway, overall, that's me done for the Hunter Ranger, and hopefully you enjoyed this. I will see you the next one when we go into the next class.